Kelly here with the Siren and the Pirate, jewelry for the adventurer. Today's tutorial is another Viking knit bracelet design. How to make a Viking knit bracelet is my most popular tutorial, and it's been a couple years since I actually did that one, so I'm confused as to why I've never done another Viking knit design tutorial. So today's the day. Definitely check out this video, how to make a Viking knit bracelet. I go over how to do a single, a double, and a triple knit weave, as well as some other technical things that might help you learning how to do this weave. Today, I am only doing a single knit weave. So again, if you want to learn how to do all the other weaves, please visit that video. And the link to that video is going to be down in the description box, as well as I have links for all of the tools that I use. I recently just got an affiliate link. Well, I got my affiliate links set up through Amazon, which is where I buy a lot of my tools that you'll see me using here today. And then everything's going to be down below. Just go take a look. Other things you'll find down below, my Etsy shop. Also, you'll find a link to my Patreon page. You may want to consider joining. Something that not everyone knows about my channel and the designs I put out there is that they are yours to make, and if you're a seller, you can sell them as well. I do appreciate when people tag me when they post their work. They also tag me, helps spread the word about my tutorials and my work. But again, it's your creation. You put the work into it, so you can sell it. So another maybe nice reason to join the Patreon to help support my work. Anyways, come along. We shall make something happen. This is the design we will be making today. So it's just a single knit Viking weave bracelet. We're going to make everything from scratch here, all of the end components. This is a thinner, kind of daintier look than the last tutorial. This is done in copper, which I will be making one in copper on the video today. And this one I made about 4 years ago. It was one of the first ones I made of this design, and I kept it for myself. I wear it almost every single day. 4 years later, it still looks great, except I think I chipped this recently, so I just need to replace that. That's easy. But they hold up really well. I never have it come off of my wrist because of the clasp. If you have trouble putting these on, some people are more coordinated than others. I'm able to get it easily on and off. And in fact, this one is not sterling. It is silver filled wire. It has been patinaed, so it gives it that contrast. I also have a video on how to patina your jewelry. If you want to learn how to do that, the link is below in the description box. So let's talk about what you're going to need to make this bracelet. Again, I'll be showing you using copper wire. You're going to need 3 different gauges. 24 gauge is for the actual weave. 16 gauge wire, or something close to it, is going to be the end components. And then 20 gauge wire is also the end component, but it's just this part. Okay. These are my must-have tools for making the Viking knit: bail making pliers, these flat nose pliers, needle nose pliers, and a cutting tool. Links all down below. And then finally, what everyone has been waiting for. I get so many questions asking, where did I get this plastic draw plate? Because there's only metal draw plates out there, and I know I got it off of Amazon, went to go look for it on Amazon, and it either wasn't in stock or didn't exist anymore. So that wasn't great for everyone who wanted it, but I got this out and I realized, oh, look at that. There's a website right there. I went to the website. They have these in stock along with Lazee Dazee toolkits if you prefer to use a Lazee Dazee for your designs. Visit this website. I will also link it down below. Get yourself your draw plates. Yes! You will also need a Sharpie. I mentioned in my last video that I don't use the Lazee Dazee tool for Viking knits. You are more than welcome to do that. I prefer to use my Sharpies. So get your 24 gauge wire ready. We're gonna make the flower top and we're gonna hold it right here. The flower top is gonna be this guy. Just the thing at the top that we use to put on the Sharpie to start the weave down the side. So it's gonna end up looking like this, just to give you a visual ahead of time. All right, so I always use copper, even if I'm doing sterling silver later on, just because this is gonna get scrapped. So I got my 24 gauge wire, put 2 fingers together, hold it, and then we're gonna do a 5 loop weave. So I'm not gonna count this first one, I'm just gonna hold it, and I'm gonna count 1, some more wire here, 2, 3, 4, try to keep them all the same length, and 5. And I'll trim that off. Okay, take that off. Grip one side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 still. And then I'm gonna twist it. Those guys out of the way. All right, now you're going to separate these like a little flower. You're going to spread it out like they're petals. Okay, and then I go through, and it's okay if they're not all exactly the same size, it'll be fine. We want to try to get them the same size, but if they're a little off, it's no big deal. Okay, and then I start to bend them upwards. All right, now when you take your Sharpie, place it on, then I just fold them over. Go through, just make sure they're evenly spaced out and squeezed together. Okay, very good. Now we are ready to start weaving. Now to get the weave started, I've cut just about 2 feet of 24 gauge wire. And this is shorter than I would normally weave with, but when I'm first starting off here at the top, it's easier to have a shorter length of wire. If this is too long for you, maybe start off with just 1 foot of wire. Okay, now to get this started, like I did in the first video, I'm going to come in from the left side and I'm going to go under and through one of the flower petal loops. Give it a little tail and then bend that down and pass your long side of your wire in front of the short side. All right, now I have a little tail so that I can put my thumb right there and secure it. And move on to the other side. Now I'm going to take the opposite end, turn this, put my thumb over, secure that side, and now I come from the right side, underneath and through the center of the flower petal. Pull lightly, and then I kind of guide this around so I'm not pulling too hard on the top to form another loop or circle. Go around to the next one. Use your thumb to secure the ones you've done. Let's see if my zoom works a little better here. Ah, hey, look at that. Not as grainy. Cool. Again, coming from the right side. So that very first one is the only one you'll come in from the left. Pull through. And then instead of just pulling with your hand, you don't want to do that because you'll just end up making a mess of things. And if you pull too hard, that's going to pull your loops together. So we don't want that either. Let's space this out again. Okay, we don't want all of the rows on top of each other. Use your finger to guide that around. On to the next side. Give this a little twist just to secure it. Okay. From the back side, through the center, and around. All right, now we are back to the beginning. It's all right, the top is gonna look a little rough. It's okay, keep on keeping on. It'll start to look better as we go. All right, now we're gonna be starting our second row. So now we're not going through the flower petal anymore. We are going behind the loop that we created. So pass by all the wires, go through the center. Don't go through the center of the loop. I said that weird. But there you go. Go behind the X. And then same technique to create that loop. Behind. And around. And then really once you get the second row going, everything's going to get easier because you won't have to secure all the other wires as much with your left hand. There we go. All right, and now we are ready to start our third row. So now when we're doing the single knit, we're only going to go up one row to create the next row. If you're doing a double, you would go up 2 rows. If you're doing a triple, you would go up 3 rows. But again, check out the other video if you want more detailed instruction on those different types of Viking weaves. Today is just the single. Now some of these rows, because I'm doing this on camera, got a little close together. So I can begin to kind of create some space between them. See, I kind of pulled the loop this way, so then the next row is going to be more over to the right. Make sure that you're not pulling too tight with these loops. They should be nice and loose. Otherwise, you'll have a heck of a time trying to get your wire behind. You'll have to like really try to push it through. So there's some tension in the wire, but it's loose enough where there's a little space still between the wires and the marker. And we are rolling now. Now here's where it gets easy. This is when you can turn on a movie, a podcast, whatever you want, and just weave to your little heart's content. I'll just sit on the couch while movies are playing and weave, weave, weave. That way I can make my Viking knit bracelets in bulk. Let me show you. Like this one the other night. Whew. Now this could either be a necklace, or I can cut it in multiple parts and make multiple bracelets. Some people think that if you cut it, it's all going to unravel. Not true, because it's wire. You can cut it wherever and the weave will stay intact. All right, so now you got the idea. We're gonna keep doing the same thing, and we're gonna, oh, you know what? I'm gonna weave until I run out of space, I run out of wire, and then I'm gonna show you how to add more wire. That's what we're gonna do next. So keep going, and I'll meet you back here in just a second. Okay, I've gone as far as I can go, and I've left a little tail at the end. And I've also cut another, I cut 3 feet of 24 gauge wire this time, added a little bit more to work with. So far we're up to 3, 4, 5 feet of 24 gauge. Remember, this was 2 feet right here. To add wire, it's the same way that we started when we connected the weave to the flower. You're going to go to the next side over from where you stopped. Go in from the left side. See, I'm going under the cross. Fold that down just like you did with the petal, and bring this across like so. Now we're going to connect the wires over here. This is where I love using this tool, my flat nose pliers. So I get these crisscrossed. Let's see if I can do this looking through the monitor, maybe not. And right where they cross, yeah, I folded that up. I grip it and I twist it. I'm gonna do that a couple times. Oh, sorry, gosh, I was totally off frame, but I was just grabbing and twisting. All right, now I don't want that long of a tail, so I'm gonna come in with my cutters, nip that off. And then just press it down. And now I just keep going. Now again, going back from the right to the left, going under the loop above. And around. It's all the same from here on out, so let's go until we run out of wire again. And this is what we have so far. Don't worry if there's a lot of bumps or your rows are off, because once we draw this, it will really take out any imperfections that you've done during the weave. So don't worry if your weave doesn't look too perfect or nothing. All right, we are gonna do one more round of this. I've cut another 3 feet of 24 gauge wire. We're gonna add it to this just like we did before. So I'm coming from the left side, under the cross, bend that down. These are the 2 wires that we are going to twist together to connect. Actually, before I twist, I'm going to pull that down and around. Got the twist. And you'll notice the last one is right here. So I just go right over the top with the next row of weave. And then when I draw it, that little piece will be inside the Viking knit. So it's not gonna pop out and get you or anything. Can't even see. Sometimes I can see where I've trimmed it, but I can't even see it on this one. So you won't be able to see it. Let's continue on until we are out of wire. Okay, in total, we've used 3, 6, 7, 8 feet of 24 gauge wire, and it's given us just under 3 inches of Viking weave. Now you can take this off. This is what it's gonna look like, a little cage. And now the very, very fun part, we get to use our draw plate. Remember, I have an affiliate link for this tool down below in the description box. It comes with a little conditioning cloth. I don't know how much that does for it, but I always kind of use it before doing the draw plate. Okay, now we get to draw this down. We're going to start with a larger one. Ooh, and careful, I got little pokies on the end of this. Pull it through and work your way down the ladder. We're going all the way down to 532. So compressing this, notice how it kind of evens out everything. If it gets harder to pull towards the end here, you can use some pliers. Trying to do this without like hitting my camera. Cool. One more down. There we go. Let's discuss sizing for a moment. So now that we've drawn the Viking knit, this has given us approximately, I don't count the little flower top, 6.5 inches of the weave. And the reason I'm going to go over this is so that you can make your bracelet to whatever size that you need. Maybe you need to weave more if you want it larger. I have a pretty small wrist, and the total length of this bracelet from the very end to end is about 7 inches. The components are going to be about 2 inches from here to here. So that means I had to cut my weave around 5 inches. So kind of plan on that the end components are going to give you another 2 inches. So factor in that. So we're going to do the same thing as I did on this one. You can follow along with these measurements or, again, do your own. I really don't like to use the very last weave, so I'm for sure going to cut that off. And then I'm going to find my 5-inch mark using your cutting tool. Let me zoom in here. There we go. Go ahead and trim it off. Whatever pieces are left, maybe go in and use your pliers to clean it up and pull them out. And then I'm going to trim up this side as well. Just take off the very last weave. Starting on the end components, you're going to need 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire, and I've cut them both to 4 inches. So now here's where you're going to use your needle nose pliers. And I'm going to find all of the loops on the Viking knit at the end. See, I have kind of my petals. What I want to do is sort of gather them all turn them. So that they all fit, or the end of my pliers fits between all of them. This guy's, I'm just gonna tuck him in because he's not a full loop anymore. Okay. Now take your 20 gauge wire, stick it through, and then we're going to bend it around. Like this, and then I like to take the end here and start to curve it and go back through the petals. And then I'm going to trim it off. And then go ahead and do that exact same thing to the other side. For the coiled end components, we're going to use 16 gauge wire, and I will be using the third smallest on my bail making pliers to wrap the coils around to get the correct size. So I apologize if you don't have these pliers and you don't know how or what to wrap your coil around. Sometimes you can find doweling rods. I did all of this through trial and error, finding the right size of thing to wrap the coil around to fit the Viking knit weave. So if you're following this step by step, get a pair of these pliers or just try to look around for something else that will work. All right, now I like to keep the ends clean, so I'm going to go in and do a flush cut. So the end is nice. Grab it. And we'll start to coil around. You can make these however long you want. I'm gonna go and stop about there. So I've done, counting from the very top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 coils. I use my flush cutters to trim it. Get that out of the way so it focuses. Okay, and then make another one the exact same size. Now you can take these and slide them on the wire right down to the weave, and you might need to pinch a weave at the top if it got a little wide. Okay, and I just kind of screw it on and down. Okay. Just enough to cover the very top. I don't really want any of the parts poking out the top of this. So just right up to the very first coil. And then we're going to put a loop on the end of this. I think I'll use the 1, 2, let's do the 4th from the smallest. Take that around. And I'm going to twist that all the way around the base. And then I'll trim off the excess wire. There we go. Curve that up. And now I'm going to push this up to the very top. So it sits in there nice and neat. And if it's a little loose because it got pushed up, I can go in and give these a little squeeze. I wouldn't squeeze them too hard, otherwise it'll look very pinched, but it should have a little room. And then it's hugging the Viking knit and it's not going to move down. And we can do the exact same thing on the other side. So we have those done. Next, let's do the little S hook here, and I'm using 16 gauge wire. This is 3.5 inches in length. I'm going to use my bail making pliers and use the smallest one at the very tip. I'm going to grab it and start to curve it up. I don't have to go all the way around, just enough. And then I use my flat pliers to squeeze that down. Bring it back again, and let's use the largest setting on this now. And let's see, I'm about, I'm going to measure this off camera. About 1 inch in from the end. I'll start to curve this around. Actually, that was probably a little too much, so I'm just going to adjust and bring it up. So that looks okay to me. And then we're going to finish it off. I've got extra wire in here, but depending on how long you want this to be, I don't like it to be too terribly long. So this is about how close my next loop is going to be to that first one. So maybe I put my bail right there. And loop it around. And if I wanted it even shorter, I can do that by just curling it up and then trimming off what I don't need. Okay, can set that aside, and let's also, while we have our 16 gauge wire out, make our 3 jump rings. And for this, I'm going to use the 3rd largest setting on the bail pliers. And I'm going to coil around it probably about 4 times or more, because that first one was a little wonky. All right, oops, yeah. That should give us enough. Trim it using the flush side of the pliers. And now, right where this side meets that coil, I'm gonna put my flush side so it's facing the left. Right where I want that joint to be. Trim it. So I have 2 flush sides that are going to fit nicely together. And you'll notice the other side, oops, there it is. Let me focus here. This side is not cut flush. So I'm going to have to go in, flush side now to the right, to trim that, and then turn my pliers the other way and cut. So again, I have a nice flat looking joint. And I had more than I needed, so let's throw that away. Just need 3 jump rings. And I do like to work harden my end components and kind of flatten them out a little bit. So I'll put it on my bench block and take my chasing hammer. All right. All right, now all we have to do is attach everything. So I'm going to open this jump ring at the end, slide it on, and then twist it back closed. And then the other side. We'll take 2 jump rings and connect them to the end. Oops. There we go. And then you have some options for length to adjust up or down as you need. You can use whatever jump ring, maybe a little bit closer, or all the way. So these are especially nice to add, these jump rings, if you're selling, so you can fit a variety of sizes. The jump rings can come off if you don't want them dangling around. You also have the option here, if you would like, you can solder these closed. And then the 3rd jump ring is completely optional if you want to add like a little charm or something. So I have these little beads that I'm gonna have to look through my order history. They're either from, no, I think they're from Fire Mountain Gems. Pretty sure. I'm gonna look it up, and if I can find my order, I will include it with a link down below. I put this on the underside. Of one end. So I have a little dangle. You can do whatever you want there. All right, and then just make sure that everything looks good. If you need to, you can turn these pieces so things lay nice. And the bracelet is pretty much complete. And now you have the option of choosing whether you want to patina your piece and polish it. And I do have a video on how to patina your jewelry as well down in the description box. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks so much for following along. Let me know how you did. You can tag me in your work on Instagram, on Facebook. I always love to see how you do, and then I like to repost your work in my stories. Also, I am working on putting together a Q&A video on Viking knits and troubleshooting any questions that you have. I'm going to take the questions from the other video and from this one. You can also send me a direct message if you have something in particular that you want me to cover. I will be working on putting together a whole video on that coming up very soon.